Hello, everyone. In this presentation, I'm going to be discussing the real reason that you're fat and how to lose that weight for good. And it is. I just give a little hint here. It is not the reasons that most people think. There are a lot of myths when it comes to weight gain, weight loss, and I want to debunk those myths today. And I want to show you the real reason why you are not losing weight and why you're gaining weight. Now, one of the myths that we hear is that, the reason you gain weight and aren't losing it is you just simply eat too much. You might hear, well, you don't get enough exercise. That's, if you just get into the gym, that's going to be it. You'll hear slow metabolism. My metabolism is low, and that's why I'm not losing any weight. I've even heard people say, well, it's not that you eat too much, it's that people are eating too little. And so you're just eating so little that you're slowing down your metabolism, and that's why you're gaining weight or not able to lose weight. And there's a whole host of other issues you might be, hearing, such as, carbs. Carbs are the issue. Fat is the issue. You hear all these different kinds of myths that are out there. And so now I'm saying these are myths. Obviously, I need to go ahead and prove that. And I'm going to hopefully do that here in the next few minutes. Now, if you look at this little illustration here, I think this is a great one that kind of helps us to see the common the problem that we are experiencing when it comes to weight loss, and also kind of helps show how and why some of these myths are still so prevalent today. So if we look at this image here, you can see these guys who are trying to bail water out of this leaky boat. And if you look, we'll kind of use the water, let's say the bailing of the water is sort of the approach of like, let's just work out like crazy. Let's, burn as many calories as possible, and we'll get the water out of this boat. So that is the solution many people are currently using. They're using exercise as a means of trying to bail water out of the leaky boat. Another way we could look at this is also just the caloric restriction, as another means of, let's just have, less water leaking into the boat. We'll restrict our calories, and this will be the way that we'll go about trying to, fix the problem. But do you see a problem with this type of approach? Right away, at least I see a problem, is that one of the main things is that we have these leaks that are really the source of the issue, right? It's not necessarily that we're not bailing water fast enough. It's that our darn boat is leaking. And so if we don't repair the leaks, if we don't repair the thing that is causing this excess water to come in the first place, then we're going to be just bailing water forever frantically and never really seeing a whole lot of results. So I like how this researcher put it, Dr. Jeffrey Friedman. He's a molecular biologist at Rockefeller University, and he asks a very stunning and I think very profound question that if you stop and think about it, it is a very fascinating way to look at it. He says, the real question we should be asking is not why are so many of us fat, but why, despite having equal access to calories, is anyone thin? So he's saying again, why, despite having equal access to calories, is anyone thin? So essentially what he's saying here is that there are people that we all know who appear to be able to eat whatever they want, and they don't even really exercise that much, and they just seem almost immune to gaining extra weight or excess weight. Whereas others, it seems like they just take a sniff of food and they gain 10 pounds, right? You hear the whole the reasons for this. You hear someone say, well, yeah, I have a skinny friend, they just must have a high metabolism and they can just eat whatever they want and they just kind of burn through it. I remember this quote by Shailene Woodley. She says, I'm always like, I'm too skinny, I can't gain weight. Even when I try, I'd like to try not to not let that get me down. So there are some people who actually struggle to put on weight. And this is kind of fascinating when you think about it, because, why is it that if they have the same access to junk food as the rest of us, and they have the same ability to sit on the couch as the rest of us, why are they not gaining the extra weight? This is not something that's a brand new kind of thing. I mean, this kind of question and thinking has been around, and this observation has been around for literally thousands of years. Even Hippocrates wrote about how he saw that some people seem to put on weight very easily, and others seemed almost immune. This was a quote from the 1600s that kind of alludes to the same thing, the same phenomena. Jack Sprat would eat no fat, his wife would eat no lean, but together between the two of them, they'd lick the platter clean. So you can see this observation that it just, even in that day, in the year 1600, there was people who had just seemed, you know, put on weight super easy. At the time, people just sort of attributed it to, well, Jack must, not be eating the same amount of food as his wife, and that's why Jack is so lean. Now, there are a lot of theories around as to what was the root cause, what was going on here. Is it just that some people are don't have any willpower? Are some people just lazy? Are some people just undisciplined? And you'd hear all sorts of different things that would be proposed, and a lot of times it was very negative toward the overweight person. They were really stigmatized and sort of made to look like just gluttons and lazy people. And you look at the thin people and it's like, oh, they're self-disciplined and they work hard. And many of these stigmas and stereotypes still exist to this very day. I remember, in fact, when I first started training, I would run into clients once in a while who would approach me and they'd say, hey, I know you've worked with people who are trying to lose weight, but have you ever worked with anyone who's trying to gain weight? So, for example, I had this one female client a number of years ago, and she says to me, she goes, yeah, I just failed my Army entrance exam, and they told me that I was too skinny. And in fact, they said I was about 15 pounds underweight, so I need to gain weight like stat. And I said, oh, okay, so what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm drinking, milkshakes, and I'm eating, burgers and pizza and chips. And she's like, and just the thing is, no matter how much I eat, I just can't gain any weight. And I'm thinking at the time, not knowing what I know now, I was kind of thinking along the same lines as many people today, that this is crazy. This girl must just have a crazy high metabolism, and that's why she's just not burning off these and that's why she's burning off these calories. And so it must be she just needs to eat an absurd amount of food and lift weights. That was kind of my thinking. Problem is that I had some partial truths there. Some of the things I had, my thinking was partially right, but lo and behold, as I began to research this more and learn more over the years, I began to realize that I was really missing the big picture. This was not what was going on at all. And like I said, this is the kind of thinking that's still very, very prevalent today. Many people still believe that when they see a thin person, and when I say thin, I'm referring to like the naturally thin person, the person who has sort of always been that way, not the person who has, through great effort and self-control, has managed to lose weight. But I'm talking about that person that we all know who has always been thin. They eat whatever they want, hardly ever exercise, and they just seem to stay skinny no matter what. So there's this thinking that the reason they are the way they are is because they must just have a high metabolism, right? I mean, how else would you explain it? And that people who, on the other hand, gain weight very easily, the common thinking is they must just have a very slow metabolism. And so even when they eat very little, they just pile it all on as fat. And so this, like I said, is just a very, very prevalent myth. And unfortunately, it's not true. And we're going to look at that here more closely in a second and get at the real root cause of why we put on excess weight and why the skinny are not fat. All right, so we have, more than 50 years ago was a discovery of a method of actually measuring metabolism in free living subjects. And so this is kind of fascinating. We could put this to the test. So, and this is exactly what they did. They went ahead and said, hey, you know what? Let's just check and see what these different people's metabolisms are like, and see if we can figure out, the naturally thin people really have these like crazy high metabolisms, and is this why they're so lean? And what about overweight and obese individuals? Are they just having, do they just have very low metabolic rates and that's why they're so overweight? So they developed this technology. It's called doubly labeled water, and it's a water that contains these special isotopes that when you drink the water, and then by analyzing that person's urine over the course of several days or longer, depending on the length of the study, they can determine every single calorie that you've eaten, as well as determine how much energy you're burning, your overall metabolic rate, and really put these questions to the test. And let's see what's really going on here. Now, the doubly labeled water method is considered to be very reliable, and it is considered kind of like the gold standard for measuring metabolism in humans. And you can see here in this slide, it says that during the first 10 years of its use in humans, it has been extensively validated as a very accurate way of measuring TEE, or total energy expenditure. That's essentially just another word for metabolism throughout the life cycle. You can measure in infants to the elderly, and you can again estimate what's going on in these people very accurately. And what's interesting here, they say at the bottom that this technology was really important because it was for the first time really emphasizing that energy requirements, or what people should be eating, should be based on measurements of energy expenditure. So how much are you burning, and not necessarily just what you're actually eating. Meaning we need to kind of figure out what the recommendations should be based upon what people need, not what they are currently doing. This study, this technology, or these studies, I should say, plural, discovered that unlike what we had thought, naturally thin people do not actually have higher metabolisms than obese and overweight people. In fact, it was the exact opposite. That the thinner a person was, the lower their metabolic rate, and the more overweight a person was, the higher their metabolic rate. You can see here in this article, it says that before the doubly labeled water method became available for human research, many believed that obese individuals had lower metabolisms than lean controls. It is now clear that metabolism increases with weight gain, and that the obese as a group have higher metabolic rates than lean controls. They expend more energy. So this is like a big shocker, when they start measuring this, and like, wait a second, we measure these naturally thin people and their metabolisms are actually very low. In fact, they're much lower than obese people. How the heck then are they eating, whatever they want and not gaining any weight? And then, how if the obese have, these pretty high metabolic rates, then how the heck are they not thin? Like, this doesn't seem to make any sense. And it's also kind of interesting when you think about the fact that so many of these weight loss programs and books and articles and things are out there. It's still so prevalent for people to really be focusing on metabolism as being the key issue. You have the super slow metabolism diet, or the metabolic diet, or the fast metabolism cookbook, and everything metabolism, master your metabolism. Just all these books and articles. I mean, even the supplement industry, fitness programs are all focusing on this kind of like boost your metabolism. Here are 7 metabolism boosting foods that you can eat, and here's 15 key ways to amp up your metabolic rate, and do this metabolic boosting workout. And you think about it for a second, and you're like, wait a second, okay, just think about this for a second. The leanest people, the thinnest people, have some of the slowest resting metabolic rates of all groups. The most overweight and most obese people have some of the highest overall metabolic rates. Why the heck are we trying to amp up metabolism in people who already have high metabolisms as a means of losing weight? Something seems amiss here. Something seems like, okay, something's not connecting. Something's not making sense here. All right, so we're going to end there with part 1, and in part 2, we'll pick up where we left off and keep exploring this issue as to why we are really gaining excess weight. And as we'll find out here soon, it is not what most people think.